All right, so in the last few years, of all the messages that I've seen pop up on my videos are mostly to do with just theory and practice and improvising chords and stuff like that, more for like the intermediate to experienced player. But I've had actually quite a few messages about doing a video for the complete beginner. So I thought I'll do just one, like pretend this is the first lesson and do a video that goes from complete, this is the first time you see a guitar to being able to play a simple song, something that is even just two chords, but get you going, so to speak. So we'll talk about obviously how the guitar is built very, very quickly. This is going to be a relatively long video, but with a lot of information, so you feel free to stop it in different, doing different sections, or slow it down, speed it up, whatever. And I will obviously put a link either in the description or in a pinned comment, all the stuff that I'm using, throughout the video. So let's get going. So the guitar, obviously 6 strings. Nowadays you can tune it with apps. That's pretty easy. The way the guitar works, obviously this is an acoustic guitar. You can have an electric guitar or a classical guitar, but for acoustic guitars or classical guitars, which is mostly what beginners will have, things work in a very similar way. And the fact is that when you hit the string vibrates, and the vibration is picked up by the top of the guitar, which by vibrating with, the body that is made like a box, it creates a louder vibration, so to speak, so that it makes the sound louder. Okay, so when I play a chord, if the guitar didn't have the body, you would still hear the sound, but it would be much, much quieter. Obviously, the strings can be played open, or the note can be fretted, and I'll explain how to do that. Meaning that every time I press with my finger by a fret, I shorten the length of the string. So the higher up I go, the higher the sound is. Obviously, higher being towards the body. And obviously, you can play more than one note at a time. You can play one note at a time, which is what I've just done, or more than one note at a time. And when you play more than one note at a time, that's called a chord. Okay. In this case, I'm playing the D major chord and the A major chord, which is what we're going to be using for the song that we're going to be playing at the end of this video. So before we start, again, as I said, the guitar obviously has 6 strings, and we count them from the bottom up. So this will be the nomenclature for the guitar. We count them from the bottom up. The first one is an I-E note. So when I play, that's the note E, if the guitar is in tune. The second string is a B, third string is a G, fourth string is a D, fifth string is an A, and the lowest string, even though it's is the closest to you, so technically it's the highest, but lowest in sound, that's the low E. So I have 2 E strings, make a note of that. The thinner one is called the high E, and the thicker one is called the low E. So at this point we have that. When you hear somebody explain how to play something on the guitar, usually you're given some coordinates, and you're given a string, a fret number, and a finger number. Sometimes, when you're playing, if you're finger picking with the right hand, you're also given a finger name for the right hand, but here we will be using a pick, and I will show you how to do that later. But so the strings, as I said, we count them from the bottom up. Either you can say the G string or the third string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fingers of the left hand. I suggest for everybody to play right-handed, even though they are left-handed to begin with, because I think it makes your life easier eventually. And then see how you feel. But I tend to start everybody as right-handed. So The left hand, obviously, as I said, we don't count the thumb as opposite to, let's say, something like a piano, but we don't count that. So your index finger is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Frets, we count them from, obviously, 1. When you play an open string, that's 0 or O. You will see an O or a 0 on the either the tablature or the shape that you'll see on the page. And then obviously from 0 or open, you will go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. You will see that most guitars have a dot on, either the front of the fretboard or the edge of the neck, and usually the dots are on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and then you will have 2 dots on the 12th fret. So obviously the 12th fret is where then the guitar starts again, so to speak, but for now we'll consider that as advanced. We don't care about that. So let's say I want to play one of the 2 chords that I mentioned earlier. So let's see string by string what I have to do, and as I said, I will give you those coordinates. So let's say I want to play the D chord. So I'm going to start by saying that I need my 2nd finger, which is my middle finger, pressing down by the fret, which is the 2nd fret, on the 1st string. That's an F sharp. For now, we don't care about what note that is, but that would be an F sharp. So then I need my 3rd fret, and I need to press down by the, my 3rd finger by the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. And that will give me a D note. And then I will need my index finger, my 1st finger, press down by the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, on the G string. And that's an A. Okay. So those are individual notes. When those notes are played together and I strum them, I strum all the strings, apart from when you play in D, you don't strum. You try not to hit the low E string because that's not part of that chord. But even if you hit it for now, it's okay. But you try not to hit that. And when I hit all the strings together, I'm going to strum the strings and I press down when it's needed to, where I mentioned earlier, that's a D chord, okay? Because we said that we are playing more than one note together, so that's a chord. So let's see the A chord. The A chord, I will need my index finger. This is a bit easier. I'll need my 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And the 4th string, so that's the D string. And my 2nd finger, 2nd fret, 3rd string, the G string. And then my 3rd finger on the 2nd fret again of the 2nd string, the B string. Obviously, because all the frets are all the fingers are on the same fret, you need to squeeze them together. You won't be able to be by the fret, because I'll explain in a minute, what's the best rule of thumb to get the best sound. But you will need to make sure that your fingers are squeezed together, so to speak. And when I strum all the strings, this time for this chord I can strum all the 6 strings. That's A major, okay? Okay. So let's see, I'm going to zoom in my left hand. I'm going to show you a couple of things that make your life a bit easier in terms of getting a better sound, no buzz, and your fingers are going to hurt a bit less when you press, because at the beginning that seems to be always a problem. You feel that you have not created a callus, so you feel that you're making a lot of, not only you have to press a lot, but your fingers might be a bit more sensitive to touching the strings, so to speak. But that's okay, that will go away. So yeah. Okay, let's see a few suggestions to make your life easier in terms of what's, let's call it, proper technique, or a way to get a better sound with your left hand. So in general, I'd say that the motion that you have to make when you, well, let's actually say, first thing, let me just call them some rules here. First, you have to try and play with the very tip of your finger by arching your finger, and play by and press by the fret. A lot of people think that this is the fret, this part here, but really the fret is the metal bit. And to make a better sound, you have to press just by the fret, not above, not too far. And I'll explain why. The main reason is that if I play by the fret, I get a clean sound. The further away I am from the fret, the more it's going to buzz. And if I play above the fret, I'm going to get a muffled sound. So the sweet spot, so to speak, is literally just before the fret. Another idea is that because obviously of the way that the hand works, I need to have my thumb opposite my middle finger roughly, okay? And let's say if I'm playing D major again, I want all my fingers arched, and I want them by the fret, and I want them, to press enough to make a clean sound, but not too much, because remember that the more you press, the more tension you need to release to remove your fingers, so you're going to slow down, okay? And so the first thing that most people tend to have is that the first problem that people seem to face playing guitar is that the tip of the fingers seem to hurt. That will go away, because that, you need to create a bit of callus, that needs to toughen up, so to speak, the tip of your finger. But try to stick with it. Second, don't do this. Don't give in with the first, your finger has to be arched. That's the best way to do it. Don't do that, okay? Don't let your finger give way. Don't do that. Another thing, try to get to stretch your fingers. Don't have your fingers all together, because generally, because our hand is very much wanting to be vertical, but we need it horizontal when we play guitar. Try to bring up this side, the little finger side of the guitar, okay? And so that will make things easier, because really what you have to do is stretch out your fingers, not move your hand in and out like this. Your wrist should be relatively straight. So when you reach for the chords, you see that my hand really doesn't move. It's just my fingers. If I had to move like this, just like a spider, it's just my fingers bending in and out. Okay, that's the right way of doing things, okay? Or should I say, a better way of doing things. So try and do that. And you will notice that when you play chords, let's say, let me just make an example. I'm going to play D and G. You will see that there are fingers that are common to both chords, and I need to leave there when I change to G. So try to make your motions as efficient as possible. So try not to remove all your fingers, and when you move your fingers, do this. So release, put your fingers way, way away from where they need to be. Your fingers need to be hovering the fretboard, okay? So if I go from, let's say, any chord to the other, see how little motion I make. I'm not going to do this. Okay, don't do that. Small motions. Okay. And another thing, try to, when you play a song, and we will see in a minute with strumming patterns, try to put a metronome on, or follow a slowed down version of the original. Basically, give yourself a beat to follow, because that will give you a sense of having to move to the next chord. So to begin with, even though this might be a bit counterintuitive, give less importance to the left hand and more to the right hand. So the right hand will rule, and I will explain that in a second, what I mean with that. and don't be too, because I see what most people do at the very beginning, they tend to put down the chord one finger at a time, and they don't strum until that chord is absolutely perfect. You know, their fingers are by the fret, which might be okay for the very first week, but then you need to start moving. You need to start getting to the next chord. That's more important than being perfect. And a good sound will happen over weeks of playing. Okay, so try to, because obviously what you're doing, if you keep doing that, you're just practicing being slow at moving between chords. Okay, so what you need to do, as soon as you can put down a chord, you need to practice moving from one chord to another. Okay, not leaving gaps between one chord to another, which is something that will happen over a period of time. This is all stuff that you need to digest. Okay, let's move to the right hand. Okay, so this is for the right hand, right arm. So we're going to use a pick, obviously, and so you need to get one of these. And the way you hold it is very easy. You put your hand out like this and bring your fingers in like a hook, like this, and just put the pick on the last section of your index finger and your thumb above it. Usually I try not to have too much of the pick sticking out. And remember that this is quite a relaxed, this is quite a relaxed thing. Your wrist will be relaxed, your forearm will be relaxed from your shoulder down, and even your fingers, this is not, you're not holding for dear life here. You're just, holding the pick in a very relaxed way. Try not to do this. Try not to hold the pick like this, okay? It's not, that will fly off your fingers. So try to be a bit, firm but relaxed, okay? So now what we're going to do is that, obviously, the actual action of strumming is pretty easy, but I want to explain what a strumming pattern is and what strumming really means, okay? The main idea when I strum, a basic strumming pattern, and we'll see the one that usually is referred to as the universal strumming pattern, is that my arm just moves up and down like a pendulum, okay, and just never stops. The sound is actually made by me either hitting the strings or not, while I'm, going either down or up when the motion is downwards or upwards, okay? So if I hit the strings with a downward motion, I'll call it a downstroke, and obviously when I hit the strings up, that's an upstroke, okay? So let's say I want to play a bar, so I'm going to count to 4, and I'm going to strum every motion, every downstroke and upstroke, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's in quarter notes. Let's say in 8 notes now. So I'm going to do 2 motions per count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's assume that each one of those chords is, actually, let's make an example. Let's say we're going to play a tune along the lines of Get Back by the Beatles, okay? Get Back by the Beatles as 2 bars of A, so 2 counts of 4s of A, 1 of D, and then again 1 of A, so it's 4 bars. So I'm going to count 4 times, and the first 2 are going to be an A chord, then a D chord, and then an A chord. It should sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So now I want to go from this to a strumming pattern that sounds more like something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see that my motion is still the same. My motion is still the same, but sometimes I make the motion but don't hit the strings, okay? So again, if you look at my right hand, so you see my arm is just going down and up. But really the sound, I'm only hitting the strings when I do down, down, up, up, down, up. So down, down, up, down, up. Okay. But in between, there are some motions that where I don't hit the strings. And let's say if I count it like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay, so if I count it that way, just basically I'm just counting the beats in the bar. I'm not gonna hit the strings on the end of 1, 2, and 3, and on the 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and, okay, so you see that to do that strumming pattern, the universal strumming pattern, I'm basically, my arm is moving up and down constantly, but I am not hitting the strings on the end of 1, so when I come back up after the 1, and on the 3, on the downstroke, when I say 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay. So this is called the universal strumming pattern. And if I, obviously you can say the same thing as I said at the very beginning, just by saying down, down, up, down, up. I'm just basically saying that those are the motions where I hit the strings without calling them with the beat. But I quite like calling things with beats because, as I said in an earlier section of this video, the beat is what rules. The right hand is what rules, not the left hand. If you want to move your chords quickly, you have to let your right hand constantly move, because that's your metronome. If you remember the old school metronome, the pyramid, with a ticking arm, your arm is that. Your arm is your metronome. The metronome never stops. Okay, and as a matter of fact, I do use an app that I'm going to show you in a second, where that basically will make you move, will create that sense of urgency to move to the next chord. So if I play that, as I said, a song along the lines of Get Back by the Beatles with the universal strumming pattern, it should sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me show you the app, and then I'll show you how to get quicker at this. Okay, so this is a bit of a trick that I teach students to force yourself to get quicker with chords. And obviously this will take a bit of time. This is not something that is immediate. It might take a few days to a few weeks. But I find that obviously at the very beginning, the main issue is that when students have figured out how to play the individual chords, the time that it takes to move from one chord to the other is the issue, so to speak. But as I explained to everybody, familiarity is what makes you play quicker. So you just have to make that motion a certain amount of times. And let's say the first thing to do is literally just repeat. Imagine being under the gym and the personal trainer says, to make muscles, you have to lift that weight 10 times, do 3 sets, and in 6 weeks you're going to get bigger muscles. This is the same thing, but this is muscle memory. So you'll have to go 3, 4, 5. So do 30 repetitions of going from D to A, or whenever you find an issue, let's say D to G always is a bit of a problematic one at the beginning. So C to G. So do that motion a certain amount of times, leave the guitar where you can see it, and let's say do 10 reps or at a set of 3 every day or twice a day for a couple of weeks for every time you find a tricky motion. Another way is to basically and I'm going to use an app here. This is a metronome, and there are quite a few. It's a voice metronome. Basically, it's a metronome that instead of doing a click per count, actually says the number. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
Okay, and obviously you can put, this is a 50 BPM. So this particular one is called Iona Voice Metronome, and it's for Android and I think iPhone as well. But there are plenty, there are, as long as I said, I feel that it's easier if you hear the number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, if you hear the count rather than just a click, because it's easy to just skip a click. And basically what you've done, you added a beat to a bar, okay? Where here, you will always be able to start from 1, okay? So I'm going to start this metronome. Right now is at about 50 BPM right here. With the scroll wheel, you will be able to put it the BPM, the correct BPM. And I'm going to play what we did earlier. So that get back with the universal strumming pattern. And then what I'm going to do, once I'm happy with it, I'm going to add 5 BPM and try to get to a faster pace, basically. Okay, so here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Excellent. So I've done it.
2.
Let's go to 55.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
And so on. Now let's go to 60.
4. 1.
So basically you're bringing up the tempo with slow and very small increments. I find that usually 5 BPM is where you notice a difference, but it's not, a massive jump. And try at the very beginning, don't try to learn the tune at the original speed. It will be too challenging to do all this stuff that we talked about at the original speed. So start from where you can move, even if it's 40 BPM. It doesn't matter how slow it is, because by repetition, and by that very, very small increment, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Does it take a month? Does it take 6 weeks? You will get to the original speed. Let's say the original speed might be
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's say it's 105. Okay, so from 50 to 105. You'll have to do a certain amount of increments, but eventually you will get there. You just have to be patient. And if you find a speed that you hit a wall, so to speak, just stay there for a bit. Okay, and that's kind of the idea, because as I said, and again, rule number 1, don't stop strumming. The right hand is what rules, not the left hand. If you cannot move quickly enough, get there when you can. Okay. Let me just make an example. Let's go again to, about 85 or so.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
Let's say I can't make the D.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
Okay. So try and respect the beat. They're trying to respect the beat, because that when you start to play with other people, or when you start to the idea is that music is made by pitch, the sound that you make, and a rhythm. And if you don't respect both, if I play the chords but I didn't respect the length of the chord, the amount of bars I need to play, the amount of beats, that's not the song. Okay, so and if somebody had to sing along to me playing the chords, if they knew the lyrics for that particular Beatles song, they wouldn't be able to line up to what I do, because I'm not respecting the length of the, how long the chords last, so to speak. So the right hand is what rules, not the left hand. Eventually, by playing, that gap will fill, and you will be able to move to the next chord quickly enough. As I said, speed is familiarity, is muscle memory. There is no trick that is going to make you go super fast just by knowing a particular trick. That doesn't happen. You have to go through the motion. You have to create the muscle memory, and it might take. So you have to be patient. Playing an instrument is a game of patience, basically. So you have to just have to go with it, okay, and not judge what you're doing. Just do it for a certain amount of time, okay. Yeah. So let's summarize. So to sum it up, in this video, what we have seen is how to go from not knowing anything to, get an idea on how to play the guitar. So we've seen the guitar has 6 strings, and we count them from the bottom up: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The finger nomenclature is 1, 2, 3, 4. So index, middle, ring, little finger. We don't count the thumb. Frets, the string open is 0, or O open, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. We've seen how to play the D chord and the A chord, and how to, to get a better sound by playing with the tip of your finger by the fret and pressing enough but not too much, and playing, as I said, by curving your finger and having a straight, relaxed arm. With the right hand, how to hold a pick, how to strum, and remember that that idea of that your right arm is like a pendulum, like a metronome, so to speak. We've seen how to play the universal strumming pattern, and how to move quickly from one chord to the other, starting from really slow and using the metronome. Yeah, so that should be enough for you to work on for a while. And remember, be patient. It's about building muscle memory and being patient with it. And then obviously the next step is just to learn more chords, learn more songs, and build a repertoire, so to speak. Yeah, if you want any lessons, as I said, most of what I do is more on the intermediate to advanced. But I've been given, especially throughout this lockdown, quite a few lessons through Zoom and Skype and all that, and it was a great experience, actually. I started teaching online about 10 years ago with Skype, and that was kind of interesting, even though I was teaching from people from all over the world, which is really, really cool. I mean, the technology was still quite basic and was basically a glorified phone call, really. And but still, the material was great. Where now I barely can tell the difference between doing an in-person lesson and one with Zoom, let's say, or any other program, to a point that I have some students that just don't turn up anymore in person. They just want to do it online because it's more convenient. You could be anywhere. And as I said, I have students from all over the world. So I will leave a link either in a pinned comment or in the description if you want to get in touch to get some lessons and all that. Take care. Bye-bye. Good luck.